The capercaillie inhabits the boreal forests of temperate climate zones. It prefers old forests with a medium tree crown closure, a natural diversified structure, and a significant moisture. A typical biotope is formed by extensive coniferous stands with a small share of undergrowth and underbrush and a mosaic of mid-forest, sunny open areas and wetlands. In the lowlands, it is mainly associated with pine, in the mountains with fir and spruce, and the needles of these species form almost entirely the winter diet of the capercaillie. An adult cock can eat about half a kilogram of needles a day. The most important element of the ground cover for the capercaillie is the common bilberry, which is the basis of food for adult birds during the growing season. Crowberry communities are the feeding place of insects, and these in turn constitute the main food of chicks in the first weeks of life. Important elements of the biotope are carps, stumps, lying logs, and anthills. Branch lines and forest roads are often used by birds as sandbathing sites and a source of gastroliths, small pebbles swallowed to rub food in the stomach. Capercaillie is a polygamous species. Usually, birds reach sexual maturity in the second year of life, and their mating takes place during the spring courtship display on the so-called courtship arenas. Adult males occupy their territories already in autumn. Old cocks arrive at the display territory usually after sunset and with a loud fluttering of the wings falling in the trees on which they will spend the night lecking. They start the courtship ritual in absolute darkness before sunrise. The song of the capercaillie takes a few seconds and consists of 4 parts: flapping, trilling, corking, and grinding. At dawn, females arrive at the display territory. The cocks then fly down from the trees and take on extremely impressive attitudes. There are often fights between them. The top cock in the courtship arena fertilizes almost 90% of hens, but it is the female that chooses a partner. Hens usually nest in a distance of up to 2 kilometers from the display territory, always in arid areas, under windthrow, near glades, forest roads, and under low-hanging branches. The nest is in a small hollow, scantily lined with grass, needles, and feathers. At intervals of 1 to 2 days, the female will lay 6 to 8 eggs. The female capercaillie has usually 1 brood during the year. Incubating begins after the last egg is laid and lasts for 26 days. The chicks hatch at the end of May and in June. The capercaillies are a precocial species. After an hour of hatching, the chicks together with their mother leave the nest and start feeding. The first 3 weeks of life are the critical period for them, when they do not have their own thermoregulation. At the age of about 3 months, the young reach the size of adults. At the beginning of the 20th century, the capercaillie population in Poland was estimated at about 2,500 individuals. In the 1970s, the number and range of all national populations began to decline. Currently in our country, there are about 600 capercaillies living in 4 isolated regions. The most numerous is the population inhabiting the Western Carpathians, estimated at 280 to 350 birds. The population in the Solska forest and Janowskie forests counts about 150 individuals. About 60-70 birds live in the area of the Augustów primeval forest. In the Lower Silesian wilderness, where the last wild specimens were observed still in 2009, there are currently about 90 capercaillies released as part of the species restitution program, which has been implemented since 2009. Since 1995, the capercaillie has been subject to strict genre and zonal protection in Poland. It is entered into the Polish Red Book of Animals as an extremely endangered species, requiring active protection. In accordance with the Birds Directive of the European Union, its presence is a criterion for the determination of Natura 2000 sites. It is considered as an indicator species for the European natural forests and as an umbrella species, that is, the behavior of which promotes the protection of many other co-occurring species and the protection of their habitats. The causes of the capercaillie regression are complex and have a diverse regional significance. The most important are fragmentation and transformation of habitats as a result of human activity, an important factor of the capercaillie regression is the pressure of predators. In recent decades, the number of foxes, martens, and badgers has increased many times as a result of the use of rabies vaccines and a decrease in the interest in hunting of these species due to the lack of demand for natural fur. An additional threat is the expansion of foreign invasive species, raccoon and raccoon dog. A significant factor in the capercaillie regression is the predation of raptors, especially the pigeon hawk. Broods are also destroyed by bird species from the Corvidae family. The nests, due to their location on the ground, are often penetrated by wild boars. The capercaillies are certainly not supported by the intensifying anthropoppression associated with the development of tourism, extreme sports, and the collection of forest fruits. The consequence of all these factors is the spatial and genetic isolation of the residual populations, leading to irreversible genetic changes and deathless extinction of the last specimens. For the preservation of the national capercaillie population, on the initiative of the state forests, an attempt was made to stop the decline in the number of species in the Augustów primeval forest and to rebuild the population of this game bird in the Lower Silesian wilderness. The best solution was to take advantage of the opportunities offered by the Life Financial Instrument Plus in cooperation with the funds of the National Fund for Environmental Protection and Water Management and the state forests. The main objective of the project was to improve the quality of the biotope in terms of habitat requirements of the capercaillie, reduce predation, and increase the number and genetic diversity of both populations. Birds from domestic breeding of the species started to be reintroduced, and wild birds from natural Scandinavian and Russian populations were translocated there. As part of the planned activities, increasing the biotope moisture content is implemented through the construction of small retention objects, such as valves and ponds, to shape the optimal vegetation structure of the ground cover. An excessive amount of undergrowth and understory is also removed to restore the optimal spatial structure of the habitat. Through the zonal mowing of the old, less productive crowberry communities, the capercaillie's food and protective base improves.